everyone, I'm Holly, and today I'm remaking our Sunny Beaches soap. Now, not only is this kind of a labor-intensive batch, but it's also a tricky fragrance to work with, so I'm just a little bit nervous. The first thing I'm going to do is add in the coconut milk. I like to blend the coconut milk into the oils ahead of time, and then I'm going to give it a blend up. And now to add in the lye solution, I've increased the water in this batch to help with the persnickety fragrance. So this is gonna get pretty full. It ended up being quite a bit more of the water, but the good thing is that I'm going to be adding in the fragrance separate, but that's still pretty full. And now I'm gonna get this all blended up. Because this is so full, I'm gonna ladle some of this out first. It's probably gonna take me a while, but it's just, this pot is too full to be pouring from at the moment. Especially with such a small pitcher in comparison. If I was pouring it into a big pot container, I would probably be fine. All right, I'm gonna try this now and see how I do. Wish me luck. Okay. Okay, I'm pretty sure I made it. Let me double check because I can't ever see around the picture. This is all quite large. Ooh, heavy. Let's get another going. As long as I'm grabbing this thing up. I'm hoping it's all gonna fit in these 6 pitchers. It should. It's a little bit more than, these usually hold like a 5-pound batch of soap. It's a little bit more than that for each one of these. There's still a lot of soap in here, that's for sure. Alright, there's a fair amount left in there, but I'll see what I can do to divvy it up. I have an idea. Okay, so for this first layer, it's all going to be, and this looks a little thick already, which is surprising. Okay, let's put in the color. I need about half of what I have in here. And this is going to be the base sand layer. And this fragrance does rice, so I have to just move rather quickly. to blend it too much, but you just have to keep on moving. Of course, cleaning the stick blender off each time is a little bit of a pain. So I just need to get this in quickly. Get it spread out. The extra water's helping a little bit, I see. Let's get this spread out. My liner is, I don't love how the liner is in there this time. So, I don't know, I'm hoping it's not too ripply, but I've worked it and reworked it and it's still a little bit wonky. I don't usually do videos with this one just because I really just need to focus, so I may actually quit talking and just get it done. So once I have it in, I start creating waves, ripples. And that helps to give it just a really nice look. I'm gonna add a little bit of white into this picture. I'm kind of surprised that this batter is so thick. Okay, I'm gonna let that be on there. Alright, so I am going to pour it off so that I can measure what I have going on here. So I need it to go to about there. Let's see, times 5. I think I'll reduce it a little bit for this. Nope. I'll reduce it a little bit later. I think being a little bit nervous about this batch has caused me to be not functioning as well as I would like to be. I'm going to put in the rest of this color for the sand. I am going to lighten it just a little bit. Now I'm going to blend this a bit. Now I'm going to add in the fragrance oil again. Problem is when it starts getting thick, but you've got to blend it out. This is the problem when it rices like that. I think what I meant to say is the problem is when it rices, you have to blend it more, which makes it thicker. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Alright, so now we're going to do in the pot swirl. And just gonna move that around a little bit. And now to bring the mold back in. Let's just break some of the flow there. Ooh. Oh, I am flustered. I am just fully flustered at the moment. so this layer, we're going to start in with some green. I think I'll do about that. Stir that in. And add in just a little bit of the white. Alright, so for this layer, I'm going to pour just a little bit out for just a little bit of a blue. Let me think this through. So this layer is going to be kind of half blue, half green with the white. I got a little confused there for a minute. That's why I'm a little head right here. So I'm going to add in just a little bit more than half on this one. Then hope this all plays nice. I'm gonna layer this one just a little bit different. I'm gonna kind of do like a in the pot swirl for this portion. And then I'm gonna put in the green portion. And I want it to be on the top here. And just stir that around a little bit. Put in the rest of the white. Kind of stir it around a little bit again. Bring the mold over and get this layer in. This bigger batch is throwing me off. It's not as easy to accomplish such things. There's a lot more area to cover, and it's, I don't know, it's just a little bit more difficult to do. This is double the size of the batch that I usually do for this soap. Either way, it's gonna be gorgeous and it's going to be fun. It's gonna smell amazing even if I don't get the design exactly the same as the last time. Now I know I'm not scraping out every last bit, but I really have got to get the whole thing done. Spread this out. It is not spreading on its own. So this was probably the most complicated layer. And I had tried to think this through, but I did not think this one through as well as I thought. A lot of times I'll just lay down and close my eyes, and that's how I focus on these batches. I just take a moment to clean these sides up a bit. And I know this isn't my standard cleanliness, but you're just gonna have to be okay with it for today. I'd have to be. I'm gonna put in a fair amount of the blue into this one and a little bit of the green if I can get it to come out. I dropped my little mini spatula on the floor, so I wasn't gonna go after it. That'll just be a fun mess to go clean up when I'm done. And with the fragrance oil again. Ornery fragrance oil. I think that maybe for these really big batches, since it just takes so much more time to do all of this, I think I better split it up into 2 or 3 batches. I think that would be in my best interest, and then just do a couple layers at a time, because it really does take a while to scrape all these containers and stir the bigger pitchers, etc. So I can tell that my design is not going to be quite as great as I'm used to. So next time I can just do it a little different is all. So spread this out. So here we are at the final layer, and it's gotten quite thick in all this time. Thins out a bit when you stir it. That's pretty typical of cold processed soap. You just have to really stir things. Okay, so now I'm going to put in the rest of this bluish color. And I'm gonna put in just a little bit of ultramarine blue, kind of blue it up some more. This is just literally a hot mess. You're just not used to seeing me operate like this. Didn't quite save myself enough of the white, which I was kind of afraid of that happening in this manner, because I do want a little bit left for the top. That's not going to help me any. So when I was working with some of the smaller batches, this white spread out much more. So, that's where I'm gonna have to make some changes. Otherwise, I mean, we're doing all right. It's just not exactly the design it's going for. Maybe I should have just done two. Alright, so I am back to cut this soap. It's been quite a long while. We're talking weeks at this point. I have just had a hard time getting around to filming these. So the camera did cut out. Basically the battery died. It was tired and everything was hot and it was just over it. So all I did on this last blue layer was just put a little bit of white, like dollops, and then move it around with a spoon. So there's some places that look really wavy and are super cute. I guess it's this loaf that I love, this one spot right there. I just think it turned out so cute. Anyway, so this was a rough batch. And the texture isn't very smooth, but it does clean up nice with a planer, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Okay, so this is going to be hard, but it does still have quite a long time to cure still, so it'll be fine. Oh, this one's not quite as bad to cut. Oh, cool. It does look good. It still turned out just fine. Look at that. Isn't that fun? And I'm hoping everything is in focus. So I do have some air pockets, and there's a lot of glycerin rivers, but you know, it works with this soap in particular. And there's some spots where, well, no, not on this one. It's very few and far between, I've noticed, but I do have a couple of like spots where you can see where the fragrance is riced, but it's still fine. Yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. Let me show you the cut ones, or cleaned up ones, I should say. So I cleaned up some for pictures. So it's been a while, so I've gotten a little bit of soap crummy from the rest of the soaps here, getting all moved with it. But so like here's one that's beveled and planed. It looks pretty good. And it's not quite as amazing as my previous batches. That's really just to be expected with what happened with this batch. So, you know, I was flustered. I was flustered and I was hot and all the things. Now, evaluating the batch. So the main thing was that my base was thicker than normal. Normally I can get it mixed up, they can hold off to the side. Everything will be, for the most part, fine. In this particular situation, my my base had really gotten thick, and so that made it hard to work with. In addition to the fact that it's already super hard to work with as is, this particular fragrance. But the other thing is the batch was just so huge. I'm gonna let a white swirlies. The batch was just so huge that it just took too long to scrape the pitchers and the pots, and I mean, I ran out of battery. I mean, that's how long it took, and I started with a fresh battery. So it happens every now and again, and now I know that when I do this again, because you know I'm going to do it again, nothing's going to stop me, I will probably split, if I'm going to do a huge batch, I'll probably split the soap into 2 parts, and I'll just do, you know, a few layers, and then we'll just come along and do the next few layers. That will be just fine. This fragrance is worth it, and this design is worth it. It's just every now and again, you have little growing pains. There's always time to learn something new about your process and everything. And if any soap maker tells you that they've got it all figured out and they never have any issues, well, just don't listen to them anymore. Because soap, while you can wrangle it pretty well, it will always have a mind of its own. So the more you, if you're a soap maker, the more you go in with the thought process that it might be tricky and it won't be the same every time, just the better off you'll be. So this one has just a little bit of ash here on the end. It really did well. And this one, I don't know what I've mentioned now in the making portion, but I had added a lot more water. So the fact that my unfragrant batch had accelerated like that, I'd obviously just mixed it too much. Ooh, I like this one. But see, you can see some of that right here and right here. It's just a little bit of specks from the ricing. It's really not an issue ultimately. Just a little bit of a cosmetic more than anything, because it's such a teeny tiny small amount. I love that bar though. That is so cool. So anyway, you know, you got to go with the flow, and it'll all be a-okay. And every time, I love this one too. Every time I make it, I can put notes on it for the next go around. I'm a pretty good soap maker, but you know, I can get caught up in either rushing or not planning a batch out as well as I should. So I've stood these up on their bottoms. Ooh, that one got some like I call it inside ash. Most of that will just kind of come off when I plane it. Oddly enough, it actually will. Could be glycerin river too. Just cosmetic is all. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And the glycerin rivers just kind of happen when you have too much water in a batch and the batch heats up. Well, this obviously had too much water, and a lot of it has to do with the titanium dioxide. That just really accelerates that whole deal. And then when it gets too hot, so an accelerating fragrance will generate more heat. So this batch probably got plenty warm. Anyway, I think I was saying that I've stood them up all on their end, so they're not filling up the tray as much, but you can't see that anyway. Okay, so I very often mention cleaning up bars of soap, and that's planing them and beveling them. So what I have here is what we call a planer, and it's just a little box with a blade. Now everything discolors a little from the alcohol cleanup, so try not to let that bother you. But I don't know if you can see the angles, and you just make, my husband built this, just make a little, you know, where you bring them together, leave a little slot there, and then it's just a wallpaper blade that is just slid up, just so it's just barely above the surface. And it's just a little wood box. And what my husband does is he makes these. I think this is only the, this is the first one he made. And he also made one for a soap making friend. But use a really hard wood that's not going to warp or have issues over time. I think this is oak, but I'd have to ask him for sure. But they're actually fairly simple to make as long as you're precise in your process. And then for the beveling, I just use an OXO, the Y-shaped vegetable peeler. And I just love this thing. These are the same ones that have cleaned up every single batch of soap since, I mean, we're probably talking 11 years or so. So they've really hung in there for me. Okay, so you can see this bar of soap, and it's kind of rough and it has a wonky texture. And some of that's going to stay just because it has glycerin rivers. Now I bring it towards me, some people push it out, what have you. So I run it on the bottom, run the sides. This one needs a little bit, another go at it. And then keeping my fingers up, I just slide it back towards me. Now I can feel it's not really getting much of a bevel there, or a plane there, so I moved it a few more times. Okay, yeah, that looks good. So I don't know if you can see now that it's much smoother. It doesn't have that bumpy texture anymore. And so then we just keep the scraps for what have you. There's uses. Usually just home uses. Oh, this is one of those fun wavy tops. So I usually just go across the top and a couple on the side here. One across this side, a couple here. And then I just give everybody just a nice little bevel. It's just a little sticky still because it was just cut, but it's it has cured enough at this point that it's quite delightful to be. This is like great time to be cleaning these up. And then we just wipe them down and just give them a good once over. We usually do this right before we box them. It's just the best time for it. So they're usually cured by the time we get around to it. But look, isn't that nice? Now it's just a nice, smooth bar of soap. Quite beautiful. I love how it turned out. We'll do one more. Let's see. Let's pick out a different designed one. This one's looking pretty nice. I really liked this one. So it does take quite a while. My husband does the planing part usually, and then my son comes along and does the beveling and clean up, and then he boxes everything, boxes and labels. He's super helpful, but he's graduated at this point, so he kind of just works with mom. Alright, so across here. And you can really get to moving. Put something good on the TV or some good music on to listen to. And you just kind of assembly line it. We usually plane them all, then we bevel them all, then we clean them all, then we box them all, and then we label. Okay, well, tell you the truth, I'm a little bit hot up here, so I think I'm going to take a break from my soap cutting for now and cool off for a bit. And I am having a soap cutting day. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.